The healing begins. Jack lived alone near the edge of a thick, quiet forest. He was a human colonist on a distant planet, sent here years ago to help build a farming outpost. The others left long ago. Now it was just him, the trees, and the silence. One night, Jack was sitting by the small fire outside his wooden home when he heard a strange sound. It wasn't a normal animal noise. It was like a soft cry. Long, broken, and full of pain. He stood up quickly, grabbing his flashlight and old hunting knife. That didn't sound right, he said to himself. The sound came again, closer this time. Something was hurt. Without thinking much, Jack walked into the dark forest. He followed the noise for several minutes until his light fell on something strange. There, under a large tree, lay a creature he had never seen before. It had smooth silver skin, glowing blue eyes, and a deep wound on its side. Its body was shaped like an animal, but its face looked different, almost human. The creature looked at Jack, but didn't move. It was breathing hard. Its front leg was bent the wrong way, and there was blood on the leaves. Jack slowly knelt beside it. "Hey there, you're hurt," he whispered. He could see the fear in its eyes. "I won't hurt you, I promise." The creature didn't fight. It was too weak. Jack looked around. The forest was quiet now. Whatever happened to this creature, it wasn't safe to leave it here. With gentle hands, Jack picked it up. It was heavier than it looked. Its skin was warm, like it had a fever. As he carried it back through the trees, he felt like something was watching him. But when he looked back, there was nothing. Back at his home, Jack placed the creature on a soft bed made of blankets. He went into his old storage box and pulled out a first aid kit. The tools were made for humans, but they were all he had. "This is going to hurt a little," he said, trying to smile as he cleaned the wound. The creature winced but stayed still. Jack worked slowly, washing the cut, using a sealant spray, and wrapping it with bandages. He even gave it a small pain pill crushed into water. "You're lucky I found you," Jack said softly. "Whatever did this to you, it wasn't kind." For the next few hours, Jack stayed close. He talked to the creature like it was a lost dog. He told it about Earth, about the rain, about coffee, and about his favorite book. The creature didn't answer, but its breathing slowed. It was calming down. Jack tried giving it some food, simple cooked meat and water. At first, the creature refused, but after some time, it sniffed the meat and took small bites. Jack smiled. "That's a good sign," he said. "You're stronger than you look." Later that night, Jack went to the window and looked out into the darkness. The forest seemed normal, but he couldn't shake the feeling from earlier. Like eyes were watching him in the shadows. Suddenly, he heard a faint clicking noise near the trees. It was soft, like bones tapping together. Jack's body stiffened. He turned off the light and watched through the window. Something moved between the trees. Tall, dark, and fast. It was gone before he could focus on it. He turned back to the creature. It was sleeping now, curled up under the blanket. Jack sighed. "I don't know what you are," he whispered, "or what's looking for you, but you're safe here." He sat beside the fire and kept his old rifle close. Strange symbols and soft words. The next morning, sunlight pushed gently through the wooden slats of Jack's cabin. A light wind brushed the trees outside. Everything seemed peaceful. Jack stood quietly near the bed, looking at the strange creature sleeping beneath a thick blanket. It hadn't moved much during the night, but its breathing had become steady, calm. Jack sighed in relief. "You're still alive," he whispered. He placed a bowl of fresh water beside it and sat down with his cup of instant coffee. He watched the creature closely. Its skin looked a little less pale now. The wound had stopped bleeding. But then, something strange caught Jack's eye. Near the bed, on the wooden floor, were symbols, scratched into the surface, almost glowing faintly in the morning light. They weren't there the night before. The shapes were smooth, curved lines, some forming small spirals, others like arrows pointing inward. They didn't look random. They looked like a message. Jack leaned in, tracing one symbol with his finger. What the hell? He glanced at the creature. Was it trying to communicate? Jack didn't know what the symbols meant, but they made him uneasy. He grabbed his small camera and took pictures, just in case. Then he carefully wiped the marks away, not wanting to scare the creature if it woke up. A few hours later, Jack was in the kitchen boiling rice when he heard a soft sound. He turned. The creature was awake, sitting up slowly. Its eyes met his. Bright blue, large and full of thought. It didn't look afraid. Jack took a slow step forward. "Hey there," he said softly. "You made it." The creature blinked slowly. Then, to Jack's shock, it nodded. Jack froze. "Wait, did you just understand me?" The creature didn't speak, but its eyes were locked onto Jack's face. It opened its mouth, but no words came out, just a soft, broken sound. Jack moved closer, holding out the bowl of water. The creature reached for it. Its fingers were long and slender, with soft, glowing tips. It drank slowly. Okay, Jack whispered, both amazed and a little nervous. "You're not just an animal, are you?" Then it happened. The creature raised its hand and touched Jack's arm, just 2 fingers, and suddenly, Jack felt something. Images flashed in his mind. Stars, ships, a burning palace, screaming, and then, running through a dark forest. Jack pulled back, heart racing. "What was that?" he asked, breathless. The creature slowly lay back, clearly tired, but it didn't look afraid. In fact, it looked like it was trying to say, "I trust you." Jack backed away, shaken but curious. "You showed me something. Was that your world?" That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He kept checking the window. The same soft clicking noise returned around midnight, but this time it was closer, just beyond the trees. Jack turned off every light and sat near the window, holding his old rifle tightly. Then he saw them. Red lights, blinking slowly between the trees. Not eyes, not animals, something mechanical. He saw a small drone scanning the ground with a blue beam. It hovered, moved left, then stopped near his cabin. Jack's heart thumped hard. Inside, the creature stirred. Jack whispered urgently, "Get down. Stay down." The creature seemed to understand. It slid under the bed without making a sound. The drone moved closer, scanning the cabin's walls. Jack held his breath. His finger rested on the rifle's trigger. Then, the drone beeped softly and flew away, vanishing into the dark. Jack waited several minutes before breathing again. He looked under the bed. The creature was staring at him. It hadn't moved. "I don't know who's looking for you," Jack whispered, "but they got tech. Military level. And they're close." The creature reached out again, this time with both hands. Jack sat back down beside it. "You're not just some lost alien, are you?" he asked quietly. "You're something more, someone important." The creature blinked once. Then, slowly, it spoke. Not a full sentence, not even a clear word. But it sounded like, "Lur, eh." Jack stared at it. "Lyra." The creature nodded, just once. A name. A connection. A start. The visitor from the skies. The morning was colder than usual. A strange mist had rolled in from the forest, covering everything in a pale gray fog. Jack stepped outside and scanned the trees, gripping his coat tight around his shoulders. The air felt heavier. Quiet. Too quiet. Inside the cabin, the creature, Lyra, was sleeping peacefully under thick blankets. But Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Something big. The night before had changed everything. Lyra had spoken her name. She had shown him visions with just a touch, and now drones were searching nearby. He had no doubt. She was important. Maybe even royalty. Jack walked to the edge of the woods. His boots crunched on frozen leaves. Then he saw it, a thin trail of crushed grass. Fresh tracks. Not his. And not Lyra's. Something else had passed through during the night. Something heavy. He bent down to study the marks when a deep rumble filled the air. A strange vibration tickled his skin. Jack looked up. Above the forest, clouds split open as a small black ship pierced through the sky. Silent, sharp, and fast. It had no sound, no fire, just sleek metal cutting the wind like a knife. His eyes widened. What in the hell is that? The ship circled once, then descended slowly, vanishing behind the trees. Jack ran back to the cabin, slamming the door behind him. Lyra woke up, her glowing eyes opening quickly. She sat up tense. She had felt it too. "They're here for you, aren't they?" Jack asked. Lyra didn't speak, but she nodded once, eyes full of fear. Jack grabbed a small backpack. Inside, he stuffed tools, rations, a flashlight, an old map, and a power cell. "We can't stay here. Come on." Lyra stood, still weak, but stronger than before. She wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. Jack gently helped her walk as they left through the back door and disappeared into the woods. They moved slowly, staying low. Jack led them toward an old mining tunnel built years ago by the first settlers. It was dark, but it went deep underground. A perfect place to hide. But they didn't get far. Suddenly, a blue light beam shot down between the trees just ahead. Jack dropped to the ground, pulling Lyra with him. 3 tall figures stepped out of the ship, humanoid, but definitely not human. Their armor was dark and sharp, with smooth helmets that glowed red. Their weapons buzzed with quiet energy. They spoke in a language Jack didn't understand, clicking, hissing, but also smooth and fast. Lyra's eyes widened with fear. She clutched Jack's arm tightly and whispered, "Hunters." Jack turned his head. "They're tracking you?" She nodded. Then, with shaking fingers, she drew a symbol in the dirt. A star, a throne, a broken crown. Jack stared at it. "You're a princess." Lyra looked down, ashamed. Suddenly, one of the aliens raised its hand. A drone flew out from its wrist and began scanning the area. The red light swept across trees and rocks, moving closer. Jack whispered, "We need to split. I'll distract them. You head to the tunnel." But Lyra didn't move. She grabbed Jack's hand and held it tight. Her eyes said it all. She didn't want him to leave her again. Just then, a loud howl echoed through the forest. Not human, not animal, but something in between. The hunters stopped and turned. Jack and Lyra used the moment to escape, moving through thick brush and slippery mud. Behind them, energy blasts cracked against trees. They reached the mining tunnel just in time. Jack pulled open the rusty gate and helped Lyra inside. The tunnel was cold, wet, and completely dark, but it was safe. For now. Jack placed a small light on the wall and took a deep breath. Lyra sat down, breathing heavily. "You stayed," she whispered. Jack smiled. "You think I'd let a princess get hunted alone?" Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she smiled too. But deep down, Jack knew this was just the beginning. Whoever those hunters were, they weren't going to stop. And now, by helping her, he had made himself part of the story. A dangerous truth. The mining tunnel was dark and cold. Water dripped from the stone ceiling, echoing down the long corridor. Jack placed another small light on the wall, just enough to see ahead. Lyra sat quietly near the wall, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked tired, but her eyes still glowed gently in the dark. Her silver skin shimmered slightly under the light, and the long wound on her side was finally closing. Jack sat across from her, staring into the shadows. "They're not going to stop," he said. "Those hunters, whoever they are, they'll keep looking." Lyra nodded slowly. Then she looked up at Jack and whispered, "You must know." Jack leaned forward. Know what? She raised her hand again and touched his forehead. This time, Jack didn't pull away. He braced himself. And then he saw everything. Flashes of another world. A grand palace made of crystal and light. People, tall, graceful, with glowing skin, bowing to a small girl with silver hair. He saw her parents, wearing crowns, speaking gently to a crowd. Then came fire. Ships in the sky, explosions, screams. Lyra, just a child, being rushed through hidden tunnels. Her mother pressed something into her hand. A small object glowing with a soft blue light. A whisper. Run. Hide. You are the last. Then darkness. Jack gasped and pulled back. His heart was racing. Your royalty, he said slowly. Your family ruled that planet. And now they're gone. Lyra looked down. A single tear ran down her cheek. You were the only one who escaped. She nodded once. Jack rubbed his face, trying to process what he'd seen. And those hunters, they're not just bounty hunters, are they? Lyra shook her head. They are from the Usari Empire, she said, her voice trembling. They destroyed my world. Now they hunt the last bloodline. Jack's blood ran cold. He had heard of the Usari, vicious conquerors, a race that wanted control of every star system near the outer rim. If they found Lyra, they would kill her. And if they found out Jack was helping her, they would kill him too. You need protection, Jack said. Not just from them, but from Earth authorities. If they find out you're here, they'll sell you off before sunrise. Lyra opened her hand. Resting on her palm was a small round object, like a stone, but glowing with soft blue light. Jack leaned closer. What is that? Lyra spoke slowly. It is the royal heart, the symbol of my bloodline. It contains all memories, laws, and powers of my family. If they get this, they can claim the throne. Jack stared at it, stunned. This small object held the future of a fallen empire, and now she was trusting it to him. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed above them. The ground shook slightly. Dust fell from the tunnel ceiling. Jack grabbed his rifle. They found the cabin. Another boom, this time closer. Lyra looked terrified. They will search. They will not stop. Jack looked at her. Then we need to move. Farther. Deeper. They packed quickly. Lyra handed him the royal heart and wrapped herself in her blanket again. Jack led the way down the old tunnels. They passed broken lights, rusted pipes, and old mining gear. Rats ran along the walls. After a few hours, they found a small cavern, wide and hidden. Jack set up a small camp there. He turned to Lyra. I need to know something. Why did you come here? Why this planet? Lyra looked at him. Because humans are different. Jack frowned. Different how? She paused, then spoke softly. You feel pain, but you still help. My people said humans were wild, but I saw kindness. I saw hope. Jack didn't know what to say. He had never seen himself as special, just a lonely man with a broken past. But somehow he had become part of something much bigger. Then Lyra whispered something that chilled him. They will bring more. A fleet. If they find me here, they may burn this planet too. Jack looked at the glowing heart in his hand. The truth was clear now. Lyra wasn't just a runaway. She was a key, a threat, a target. And if the Usari got her, the galaxy could fall under their rule. Jack stood up. We can't just hide anymore, he said firmly. We need to fight back. The rebels' choice. The cavern was silent, but Jack's mind was loud. He stared at the small glowing object in his hand, the royal heart. It pulsed with a soft blue light, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Every few seconds it flashed, like it was alive, watching, remembering. Across from him, Lyra sat on a stone, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked small, fragile, Yet there was something powerful inside her. Something ancient. Jack finally broke the silence. "You said if they get this," he lifted the royal heart, "they'll take your throne and finish what they started." Lyra nodded slowly. "The Usari want control. My family stood in their way. When they came, they killed everyone." Jack looked down. "And now they'll burn this planet if they think you're here." She met his eyes. "Yes, I'm sorry." Jack shook his head. "Don't be. You didn't ask for this war." But then he stood, pacing in the dim light. "I've lived out here alone for 5 years," he said. "Thought I was done with everything. The wars, the people, the politics. I just wanted peace, a quiet life." He looked at her again. "But peace doesn't come when you turn away from those who need help. I learned that too late." Lyra watched him quietly. Jack continued, "If we keep running, they'll catch you. And if you go to the human colonies, they'll either betray you or sell you. We need a new plan." She looked confused. "What plan?" He sat beside her. "We fight." Her eyes widened. "Fight. Them. They have armies, ships, weapons." "I know," Jack said, "but they don't know this planet. I do. I know these tunnels, these forests, every hill and shadow." He stood up again. "We don't have to beat them. Just slow them. Make them think you're gone. Give you time." Lyra's voice was quiet. "Why are you doing this?" Jack didn't answer right away. Then he looked into her eyes and said, "Because someone saved me once, when I was lost. Now I'm doing the same for you." She stared at him for a moment. Then she reached into the folds of her blanket and pulled out a small golden disc. "What is that?" Jack asked. "Something my mother gave me," Lyra said. "Before the palace burned. It contains codes. Old tech. Maybe even weapons, if we can unlock it." Jack took the disc and examined it. "This looks ancient. Could be encrypted." He smiled slightly. "Good thing I was a field engineer before I became a hermit." For the next several hours, Jack worked on the disc using tools from his old backpack. Wires, signal amplifiers, a cracked touchscreen tablet. Sparks flew. Dust covered their clothes. Time passed. Lyra helped where she could, though her hands still trembled now and then. She asked questions. She watched Jack closely, memorizing each movement. She had never met a human who spoke gently, who listened. Finally, near midnight, the disc gave a soft click, and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red zones flashed over Usari territory. A blinking green symbol hovered above Earth's star system. "Look," Jack said. "Your family's network left a beacon here, a safe house. Maybe even allies." Lyra's voice trembled. "There are others." "Maybe," Jack said. "We won't know until we reach it." Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the tunnels. Metal boots stomping. Voices speaking in the Usari tongue. Flashlights bouncing off walls. Jack's blood went cold. "They're inside," he whispered. "They found the entrance." He grabbed his rifle and the royal heart. "We run now, or we die here." Lyra stood beside him, her silver skin glowing faintly in the darkness. "I'm ready." Jack smiled. "Good. You're not just royalty now. You're a rebel." Together, they ran deeper into the tunnels. Jack led the way, Lyra close behind. Lights flickered overhead as the walls shook from blasts behind them. They reached an old service shaft and climbed into a narrow tunnel, just before an explosion filled the cavern with fire and smoke. Jack coughed. Lyra pulled him forward. "This way," she said, her voice stronger now. They reached the surface, an old escape hatch hidden under tree roots, and crawled into the fresh air. The forest above them was quiet. The stars were out, but far in the distance, red lights blinked in the sky. "Enemy ships." Jack looked at Lyra. "We need to move. That beacon. It might be our only chance." Lyra nodded. Then let's not stop. And so, under the cover of night, a broken human and a royal alien began their journey into the unknown, carrying the last hope of a fallen world and the dangerous truth that could change the galaxy. Fire in the sky. The stars above flickered quietly, unaware of the chaos below. Jack and Lyra moved quickly through the forest, their footsteps light on the wet ground. Behind them, smoke from the collapsed mining tunnel rose into the sky like a warning flare. They had escaped, barely. But Jack knew they wouldn't get far unless they reached the ancient safe house marked on the hologram. It was the only lead they had left. Lyra kept close beside him, her silver skin reflecting moonlight through the trees. Her eyes were sharp now, no longer full of fear. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was fighting. But even as they ran, the sound of ships moved above the treetops. Smooth, silent engines, red lights slicing the night. "The Usari won't stop," Jack said between breaths. "We hit a nerve when we unlocked that beacon." "They want the heart," Lyra said, holding her hand tightly over the small glowing stone hidden in her cloak. "And they'll burn everything to get it." They found an abandoned ranger station near the edge of the woods. The windows were shattered, but the structure still stood. Jack kicked the door open and helped Lyra inside. They caught their breath. Jack walked to an old control panel and tried activating the radio. Static. "Nothing," he muttered. "The station's fried. No signal." Lyra sat quietly on a broken bench. "They are close," she whispered. "I can feel them." Jack turned to her. "You said the safe house is underground, near the old water canyon. We'll reach it by dawn, if we move now." Lyra didn't respond. Her eyes were locked on the sky through the window. Jack followed her gaze. A red light grew brighter and brighter above the trees. Then another and another. Ships, at least 5. One of them opened a side hatch, and something fell from it. A black, burning object hit the ground far away, then exploded. Fire lit up the sky. Jack grabbed his rifle. "They're bombing. Sweeping the land." Lyra stood beside him. "We need to go now." As they stepped out, a shockwave from the blast threw Jack to the ground. He rolled, coughed, and looked up. A hunter, one of the Usari soldiers, had landed not far from them. The figure was tall, armored, and armed with an electric spear. Its helmet glowed red, scanning the area. Lyra froze, her breath caught in her throat. Jack stood, aiming his rifle. But before he could fire, the hunter raised its hand and sent a blast of energy that hit Jack in the chest. He flew backward, crashing into a tree. His body ached, his vision blurred. Lyra screamed. The Usari stepped toward her slowly, raising its weapon. "No," she whispered. Her hands began to glow, blue fire crawling up her arms. The hunter struck, but Lyra didn't move back. She stepped forward, raised both hands, and released a wave of energy that hit the soldier like a storm. The force cracked the trees, ripped up dirt, and blasted the Usari back through the air. Jack groaned, pulling himself up in shock. What was that? Lyra stood still, her body glowing faintly. Her voice was calm. "It's part of the royal line. A gift. A weapon. I wasn't ready before, but now I am." Jack limped toward her. "You saved me." She looked at him. "You saved me first." More ships began to descend, the humming of engines growing louder. They didn't have time. "Come on," Jack said, grabbing her hand. "We run together. We reach that safe house. We send your message, and then..." "And then what?" she asked. Jack smiled weakly. "Then we make them regret chasing us." They ran toward the canyon through fields of burning grass. The sky above was red, filled with falling fire. Behind them, the forest turned to ash. Usari soldiers dropped from ships, spreading out like insects. But Jack and Lyra didn't stop. They jumped over roots, slid down muddy hills, and crossed a frozen river. At the edge of the canyon, Jack opened the map. "It's here," he said, pointing to a narrow crack in the rock wall. They squeezed through and found a hidden door covered in vines. Jack placed the royal heart into a circular slot. The door opened with a deep, low hum. Inside, the air was clean, cold, silent. Lights turned on as they stepped in. Holograms flickered to life. Maps, data logs, faces from another world. Lyra gasped. This was my family's outpost, a safe place in times of war. Jack looked around. Now it's our only hope. Lyra walked to the center console and placed her hand on it. The system recognized her touch. A bright light rose, and a beacon shot into the sky. "Signal sent," she said. "If there are allies left, they'll come." Jack stepped beside her. Outside, the fire still burned. But inside, a new hope had awakened. The last stand of the human and the hare. The beacon shot like a blue flame into the sky, rising higher and brighter until it vanished beyond the stars. The signal had been sent. It was a call for help and a declaration of survival. Deep inside the ancient safe house, Jack and Lyra stood in silence, watching old machines come to life. Lights hummed. Screens blinked. A soft female voice spoke in Lyra's language, recognizing her as the rightful heir. "This place is waking up for you," Jack said, walking beside her. "It was waiting all these years." Lyra nodded, still touching the glowing console. "It remembers my mother's voice, my father's code. I can feel them here." Jack smiled, but his eyes were heavy. He could hear the low roar of engines outside. The Usari ships were coming fast. They had tracked the energy burst from the beacon. "They'll be here in minutes," he said. Lyra looked at him. "Then we hold." Jack shook his head. "You don't understand. I've seen their kind. They won't send scouts anymore. They'll send a squad. Maybe a whole strike team." Lyra stepped forward, the light from the console dancing across her silver skin. "Then I'll fight." "No," Jack said quickly. "You're the one they want. If you're captured, it's over." "But I'm not leaving you," she replied. Jack looked down, silent for a long moment. Then he opened his backpack and pulled out a small metal chip. "This is from the old Earth escape pod I kept in my shed. It still works. The safe house has a launch tunnel. You can escape through it." Lyra's eyes widened. "You want me to run?" "No," Jack said. "I want you to survive." Lyra's voice trembled. "Not without you." Jack placed the chip in her hand. "If I go out there and slow them down, maybe I can buy enough time. You use this, get to the stars. Find your people. Rebuild your world." She didn't take the chip at first. Her eyes were filled with pain. "You're the only one who saw me as more than a title, more than a weapon. You saw me." Jack smiled gently. "And I'm proud of who you are." Suddenly, the alarm lights turned red. The safe house shook slightly. A voice echoed from the walls. "Usari craft approaching. Impact in 90 seconds. Jack turned to her. "You have to go. Now." Tears rolled down Lyra's face as she finally took the chip and backed toward the tunnel. "You won't be forgotten," she whispered. Jack nodded once. "Neither will you, Your Highness." Lyra hesitated one last time, then disappeared into the tunnel's shadows. Jack turned toward the entrance, grabbed his rifle, and loaded the last power cell. Outside, the forest had turned to ash. 5 Usari dropships surrounded the canyon, their landing gear crushing trees like twigs. Dozens of armored soldiers poured out, tall, fast, weapons charged. Jack stood at the entrance to the safe house, rifle aimed. One soldier stepped forward and removed his helmet. His face was rough, scared, cold. "Where is the hare?" the Usari commander demanded. Jack didn't move. "You're late. She's long gone." The commander tilted his head. "You lie." Jack smirked. "Guess you'll have to find out." The Usari raised his hand, and the attack began. Blasts flew through the air. Jack ducked, rolled, fired back. He hit one soldier in the chest, dropped another with a second shot, but there were too many. He fell behind a rock, breathing hard. His body ached. Smoke burned his lungs. But he smiled anyway. They were here, for him. That meant Lyra was safe. Then, just as he thought he'd be overrun, a new sound cut through the sky. A loud hum, sharp, fast. Another ship appeared above the canyon, sleek and silver, marked with the ancient symbol of Lyra's family. The Usari looked up too late. Blue energy beams rained down from above, striking the ground. More ships followed, lighter, faster, carrying warriors with the same glowing skin as Lyra. The resistance had arrived. Jack collapsed, watching as the sky turned into a battle between fire and hope. A soft voice reached his ear. "Jack." He opened his eyes. Lyra stood over him, her eyes full of light. She had come back. "I told you to run," he whispered. She smiled through tears. "And I told you I wouldn't leave you." Behind her, the royal forces drove the Usari back. Victory was near. Jack closed his eyes and breathed deeply. The pain didn't matter anymore. He had done his part. Weeks later, in a vast hall filled with light, on a ship orbiting a new colony world, Lyra stood tall in royal robes. Her crown sparkled with starlight, and the royal heart floated beside her, alive and full of memory. At her side, in a clean black coat, stood Jack. Not as a soldier, not as a guard, but as a friend, as the man who helped save a world. The galaxy would remember them both, not as a ruler and a rebel, but as a human and an heir who stood together when it mattered most.